Thank you so much for joining us, Elia. I'm really grateful to have you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
And from your experience, I've learned a lot. You're an American-born and Italy-based public speaking and communication coach, TEDx and keynote speaker, an actress, and you've coached speakers and professionals across really, incredibly high-stake environments, from TEDx, Red Dots, to boardrooms, courtrooms, even classrooms, and stages around the world. And something that I found especially compelling about your work is how deeply it's rooted in embodiment and drawing from your experience in theater, improvisation, lived experiences, and it's not just technique. So you help people understand their voice and body as instruments, and it's not something necessarily to fix or perform. And again, this is not really an interview; it's just a very casual chat. And I'm really curious about how you experience voice and presence from the inside, especially given your journey through acting, coaching, and speaking. So with that, as I mentioned, you started as an actor long before you became a coach. When you listen to someone speak, what do you notice then before you even process the words?
That's a great question and a really interesting question. And I literally just finished teaching a university course in presentational speaking like 5 minutes ago. And I was actually thinking about the students who were giving an elevator pitch, and it was the first assignment that they're doing this semester. And part of the first impression we make is nonverbal communication, so the body language, and a large part is the voice, which is paraverbal. And because verbal is just the words we say. And I think so often how much our voice can communicate power and gravitas and confidence, or how often it can communicate apology, like I'm apologizing for, or weakness, or immaturity, or lack of experience. And it's literally just because of the tone of my voice and the energy I put behind it. And so I think the voice is fundamental in communicating what we want to communicate about ourselves. But the cool thing that I've learned over time is that the voice is actually a really fast thing to change. As you said, I'm an actress and I started in theater. I went through a really interesting experience with my voice where I lost my voice when I was 19, and I damaged it really badly. I went to the Williamstown Theater Festival and I sung my heart out without any singing technique. And I got vocal nodes on my vocal cords. And I got back to university the fall semester and I had no voice. I just could whisper. And it was horrible because I was an acting major and my professor said, you have to take a semester off. You can't act. You need to go to a speech pathologist and fix your voice. And it was really hard on me, actually, because I realized how much of my identity was connected to acting. And when you take your voice away,
right, it's like cutting off a limb.
It really is, because you can't communicate. How do you have conversations with your friends? It's really hard to just go and be functional. And so that was where I really discovered the power of my voice. And I went and did work with a speech pathologist. It was a very strange experience. I did not love it, but it worked. It worked. She healed me. And from then on, I've been obsessed with the voice because I realized what happens when you don't have it. And from there, I've had so much experience as learning how to use my voice through speech pathologists or voice teachers, theater teachers, singing, etc. And I love how when you learn how to have control over your voice, it's a choice. I mean, you can choose when to kind of, maybe you're in a bad mood, so you lower your volume and you kind of want to disappear and close yourself off. And you can do that with your body, but you can also do it with your voice. Or the moments when you need to step up to the plate and make a good impression and your voice changes. And I love that capability of voice modulation and voice control that I thankfully learned through the theater. but now I teach it. I teach it to my clients, right?
Absolutely. It's a superpower.
I think it is. I think it's like the most fascinating superpower ever. And the cool thing about the voice is literally you do a voice warm up and your voice changes immediately. Mm-hmm. Whereas the body's not like that. It takes a long time to change a person's body language if they want to, because the body language is very rooted in kind of the change between adolescence and being an adult. Your body changes wildly. And usually absolutely. I mean, there's learned behavior with the voice as well. Like upswing is something that a lot of people copy in other people because they hear it, right? And that's learned behavior.
Talk as well, right? Like increasing your pitch or lowering your pitch in certain ways.
Exactly. Or vocal fry, which is, when you talk like, oh my God, this stuff is often copied vocal behavior. So we do the same with our body language. But I find that when I bring students or clients through a voice warm up, their voice immediately changes. Whereas with body language, it takes time. It takes a lot of practice and time. And that's one of the reasons why I find the voice so cool and fascinating.
Absolutely. And I think, something I actually found really interesting, speaking with a speaker, a few days ago, was that, they saw communication and spoken language as something that's circular. And most people think it's linear, where, it's I speak and you listen, but it's actually the way I speak is going to affect the way that you listen, right? And then the way you listen is going to affect the way you respond to me. So, that there's like this circular relationship that most people forget about, I think. And I mean, so what?
And that actually can be cultural as well, because in certain countries like Italy, where I live, it's a cultural norm to interrupt in the middle of a conversation because it's a circular practice. Like if I interrupt you, it's not because I'm being rude. It's because I want to add on to what you want to what you're saying, because I find it so interesting. And that's an accepted practice that is not accepted in other cultures.
Absolutely. Right.
Like in England, that would be really rude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had some experiences, I think. Yeah, I have been called out for that. So, I mean, when you have, these coaching sessions, or you're kind of analyzing someone that you're looking to support, right, in their communication, can you tell within seconds how grounded someone is, or, if you can feel the jitters right off the bat?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things I notice is we have what I call, I think most people would probably call it 3 voices. And this actually comes from singing. So you have your chest voice, which is where the lower notes resonate. You have your throat voice, which is where the medium notes resonate. And then you have the head voice, which is where the higher notes resonate, right? They're not actually produced there, but they resonate up there. Right. And it's really interesting that when a person's really in their voice, so grounded, usually the voice is a little lower. So even though people have a register, it's going to be in the lower part of that register, whatever that register is. Whereas when people are nervous, they usually go higher in their register, or they become monotone. And in class today, a lot of the kids that were nervous, they would get higher voice and their voice would shake because of the nervousness.
Right.
Because nervousness is real. I mean, it's adrenaline, and adrenaline is pure energy. And of course, that energy makes your voice shake. So those are some of the clues that tune me into, this person's not actually being completely authentic because they're being blocked by their nervousness right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, that's really fascinating. I think it really highlights how much communication is actually happening before you even put words to it, right? I mean, before meaning or words even enter the room, you're already shaping how someone's going to experience you. And, that kind of brings me to my next point of, you've spoken intentionally about losing your Louisiana accent, right, early on in your career. And I found that really fascinating. And, I had questions on, how that decision maybe changed your relationship with your voice. Do you think?
No, that's a great question.
You felt like you were losing something, or did you feel like you were gaining range, for example?
Oh, that's such a neat question. Wow. So I guess for the people that don't know this story, when I was about 7 years old, I always knew that I wanted to be an actress. I just knew. And I remember literally being like 7 years old and watching American television and thinking, why don't they sound like me? Because I talk like this. In Louisiana, we talk like this. And I thought, but they don't sound like me. Why don't they sound like that on television? And I just kind of knew, so if I want to be on television, then I shouldn't have my accent. And from literally that age, I just started trying to reduce it a little bit, just reduce my accent. So I think part of that is I was lucky enough to, I was born with a good ear, so I actually had the awareness to be able to say, they sound different from me. And the other part was that I really wanted to reach, I wanted to have possibility. It's not that I wanted to give up my Louisiana accent. I just wanted to be able to sound differently if I needed to. So that's kind of what clicked in my head when I was about 7. And then I went to Boston College one summer in high school to do like a theater summer experience at BC. And I vividly remember being so embarrassed to be from Louisiana. Louisiana, every state has their own baggage and history and everything. But, Louisiana is a state that had slaves.
I'm from New York, trust me.
Right? We all have our own stereotypes and issues. But, Louisiana is a state that had slaves. It is a state that has had a lot of racial problems. It's a state that has a lot of hypothetically lower education quality. I literally had to leave the state to do theater when I was a kid because my hometown did not have theater, So for a while, I felt, I think, a bit embarrassed to be from Louisiana. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to maybe drop some of my accent. But then when I went to Boston College that summer in high school, everyone thought it was so cool that I was from Louisiana. And I had never had that response before. And they were like, oh my gosh, Louisiana is such a cool place and we love your accent and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And that's when the first time I would say that I went, oh, wow. Okay. Actually, I'm proud to be from Louisiana. And now I'm so proud of it. I wear it like a badge on my sleeve. Right. This Friday, I'm having a Mardi Gras party in Italy. And I'm making gumbo and I'm making king cakes and I'm making red beans and rice because I'm so proud of my background. But it took that, it took kind of leaving to realize how special of a place it is. And it is special. And the other thing I'm going to say about this, because it's something that I radically, cling on to, because I think that our voice is a huge part of our identity. And now I would say that I have 2 identities, is that so I've lived in Italy for now 20 years. When I would return to Louisiana from Italy, if I used my standard American accent that you hear right now, and that eventually I gained through theater school, if I used my standard American accent in Louisiana, people would treat me differently. And they weren't as welcoming and warm. And, the Southerners in the United States are, in my opinion, the most friendly, warm, and welcoming and charming people ever. And when I would go back home with my standard American accent, they wouldn't treat me that way. They would kind of treat me with a little bit of distance. And I didn't like it because that's not what I was used to. And so I very quickly realized, oh, wait, I have to shift back into my Louisiana accent. And so as soon as I would get off the plane, I would go, hey, Cher, how you doing? Oh my God, hello, good to see you. And I would switch back into my accent. And then it was like
code switching, I guess they call it, right? It's like kind of like
Absolutely. And then I got the response I wanted and it felt like home, So I really think that voice is absolutely a massive part of our identity, and we hold on to bits of that.
Absolutely. So
through life,
Absolutely. And I think it's, it's like a voice, it's as important as your fingerprint, right? It's very unique to you, and the way you use it is totally up to you as well, right? As you mentioned, being in Louisiana and kind of code switching and utilizing more of a Southern accent. So with that, how did you balance authenticity and adaptability by kind of switching, accents depending on the context or the scenario?
Well, I think I have like a free reign with that because I'm an actress. And so as an actress, I've always felt like I can do whatever I want because like my entire life I've used accents because it's fun, so sometimes all of a sudden I'll just flip into like a British accent because it's fun. Why not? Right.
Why not? Exactly.
and I really love that a part of me is that I'm an actress. And so I get to do that. And people just accept it because I'm weird and eccentric. And that's fun, The only time I would say that perhaps I came across a bit of a wall is I moved to Los Angeles after graduating. I got my master's in acting at UT Austin. And when I graduated, we did a showcase in LA and New York. And in LA, I got a manager. And so I moved to LA. And when I moved to LA, I went and did, a ton of auditions and stuff. And one day I was speaking to my manager and he heard me say y'all, which, is very Southern, y'all meaning you all. And I don't think I have much. I don't think most people could recognize that I'm from the South. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Makaeel, but I have like a sound here or there that might give me away. But the main thing that would give me away is that I say y'all. And I have chosen to continue to say y'all because I find it fabulous.
I say y'all too. I'm not even.
You do? You should say you guys, right? Being up from the.
No, depends. So, I grew up in Brooklyn and then also Long Island, and so I get like a Long Island accent sometimes, right? Where I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm like, all right, like why did I say coffee like that or something, So I definitely get what you mean, but there's some words where I'm like, I'm gonna say it the way I want to hear it,
Yeah, because I really don't think that we should completely lose our identities. It's fine to adapt your voice based on the context and the situation because maybe you will be more understood or maybe you will be less stereotyped. These are positives. But I don't think that we should just eliminate our accents and our identity. And that's how I felt in LA. But I was talking to my manager one day and I said, y'all, and he said, I don't want you to use that in audition situations. I don't want you to use that word.
Really?
And I said, listen, his name was Steve. I was like, Steve, I have eliminated everything else about me that is Southern. I do. Right. I am on the South Beach diet. I don't eat, shrimp and butter anymore. Like, come on. I said, I am not giving up y'all. I said, you can hear that I can use a standard American accent. Come on. And I drew the line. I was like, that's it. This is where it stops. I was like, and they give you a script anyway, and y'all won't be written in it. Okay. So for me, that was some of the, like, I need to keep my authenticity here.
Yeah, and I love the way you frame that. I think, being authentic for me, I would say personally, right, it makes me more confident, I think, because I'm most in my skin, right? I'm just speaking out of habit. So, and I think that really connects to something you talk a lot about, being confident. And I know from your TED Talk, exploring confidence even when you're not, right? What do you think most people kind of misunderstand about confidence? Is it really something that the body can kind of lead before the mind does?
Yes. It's been scientifically proven that the body can trick the mind into feeling more confident. Amy Cuddy gave that amazing TED Talk where she explains that just the power pose literally changed the way people came across in a job interview and how much they risked and bet afterwards. And all they did was change their body position. So absolutely, I think that our bodies can change our minds for sure. It's not just that though. It's that it changes the way you come across to other people. So other people treat you differently. Right. Mm-hmm. And then there are tricks in coming across more confidently with the voice, not using fillers like ums and uhs. Makes you come across as much more confident. Being present on your words, having energy when you speak, and really honoring every word that you say instead of getting ahead of yourself and rushing and thinking ahead and already being in the next thought. Mm-hmm. That doesn't communicate confidence, right? So, my gosh, I think we can trick our minds into being more confident. It takes practice and it takes willpower and a bit of a leap of faith. It's what I call, there's this little arch I always draw. I stole this from another public speaking coach colleague who's really, she wrote this beautiful book, and she's very talented. And I will quote her because she deserves it. Her name's Sarah Lloyd Hughes. And she wrote this great book on how to be brilliant at public speaking. And she says that like the arch of becoming a better communicator is this. So I'm just going to draw it for you so you can see. So, okay, down, see the little arch right here. Yeah. Down here on the bottom left is our starting point. And she says that when we start working on becoming better speakers and communicators, we start here. And that's what she calls blissfully unaware, which means you probably have no idea about how you're communicating, how you come across, what your body's doing, how your voice sounds. And that is blissful and fabulous. You know?
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. So ignorance is bliss, right? But pretty soon, when you start studying communication and body and voice, you become aware. And you're learning some tools and techniques, and you're trying them out. And that awareness changes you. You're not in that ignorant place anymore, right? And so you start moving into a different place up here on the little arch, as you can see. You start moving up to kind of the middle, which she calls affected behavior, meaning you're trying all these new tools, but they look and sound affected. They don't look natural yet. And then, and that's a necessary like step along the way. But over time, the more you try out all these new tools and techniques, you go to a different place. And that's the final place. And that's where we want to get to. And it's the bottom of the arch, the bottom right. And that's what she calls natural behavior. And natural behavior is when you've integrated all of these new methods and tools and techniques and made them your own and made them authentic. And it actually looks and sounds like the new you, the new better you. You know, basically anytime we learn something, that's actually what happens. But the shortcut from blissfully unaware to natural behavior doesn't exist. It's not possible, you know? And so I think we have to be really patient with ourselves. When we're seeking to be more confident, there is a lot of fake it until you make it, but eventually you make it.
Right. I mean, right. If you do it often enough, right.
If you do it often enough, it really becomes an integral part of you, and then it looks and feels natural.
That's really insightful. Absolutely, that's really insightful. And I think it's also like this alignment between your internal state and your external reality or external state, right?
Yeah.
It's making sure those two are aligning, and I think that's incredibly freeing once you're comfortable taking these new considerations and applying them in your daily kind of life, right? And so I mean,
you probably won't even be comfortable for a while, because it's scary to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and using kind of new voice techniques and new body language techniques. That doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like you, but that's the process.
Right. And I mean, with that, so people that are watching, right? Like, what's one step or one exercise they could do right now, like sitting on their bed or, kind of like laying down, that could help them, come across as more confident.
So if you see my TED Talk, I absolutely talk about the leader stance, which is just opening up. It's just opening. Right. So the easiest thing in the world is literally, if you're sitting or standing, torso like long and lengthened, engage your abs, open your shoulders, eye contact straight forward, and the eye contact should just be steady and strong. And no matter what situation you're in, whether you're walking into a party or a job interview or, I don't know, onto a stage, if you come at it with that openness, which is, again, what I call the leader stance, even the arms should be there should be some space like under your elbows. There should be openness. You will look and feel more confident. Right. Absolutely. That's the number one thing to do. And the second thing is, I would say on a daily basis, try and eliminate fillers from your vocal habits. So fillers are the ums and the uhs. We all use fillers. We're human. We don't always know what we want to say, right? We need to stop and think. I mean, we're not AI. We're not robots. We need to stop and think sometimes about what our next word is going to be. But the problem is that most of us don't give ourselves the permission to stop and think. We keep filling the space with sound. And it sounds like that. And then you sound insecure and unsure and weak.
Absolutely.
So I would say eliminate fillers as fast as you can. And the only way to do that is by just being silent, taking pauses, stopping, breathe, look up, think about what you want to say.
Being present as well.
And being present. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's really, such a grounded way to think about it. I think like a filler that I've noticed, actually, as I've been, developing this platform, is I was always using, though that was actually, I just used
sure.
it, right?
Yeah.
This. And I think it's, if people become more aware of their voice and their body and not trying to optimize it, essentially, I think it's more about reflecting and having a sort of mirror for it, then it's easier to understand and then actually take action on. I think that's really the main
thing. It's that
thing.
Awareness, right? The first thing is you have to be aware that you're actually doing it, that you're actually using these fillers. What your filler is, that's a great discovery, right? Because we all have different fillers.
Right.
And then once we realize it and we hear it, you just have to stop, literally like breathe, stop the sound, pause, think about what you want to say, and then move on with energy. Continue talking with energy. That's the best way, in my opinion, to eliminate fillers. And you have to do it every day, in every moment of your day in conversations, because you can't just do it when you're in a high stakes situation like giving a keynote speech or a job interview. It's just not going to happen then.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, what do you wish that more people were curious about in their own communication? As you kind of support speakers, you support TEDx speakers and actors and students. What do you wish people were actually more aware about their communication that you don't really see people being aware about?
That's interesting. Regarding the voice, I would probably say that, again, as I said earlier, that we actually can change our voices really quickly and easily and make our voices so much more interesting and have much more variety if we put in the work to do so. And the work is basically theater voice exercises, which are so weird and so, they push you out of your comfort zone. They're crazy things like.
I actually took an acting class in college, and I did, yeah. And actually, completely, to be completely honest, I was like, I'm gonna take an easy elective, like, whatever, like I'll get a credit for it. But it actually ended up being one of the most transformational classes I ever took, because these drills that you're talking about, right, just these exercises to open up and expand, your vocal range and just be comfortable in your own skin, it makes such a big impact.
Oh yeah, I think everybody should have to take some acting classes, because you get so much better at improvising. You become hyper aware of yourself with body language and voice, and you gain courage. It really gives you kind of permission, because you do so many weird things in acting classes. So after that, everything's easy.
I'm getting flashbacks.
Yeah. But look, like, you gained a lot of presence from this, and you have a really articulate voice, So I think if everybody did some of that work, it would be amazing. But a lot of people they're kind of very closed to it, because it's strange, and it is strange. I get it. In fact, when I work with clients, the first thing I tell them is, I will push you out of your comfort zone. This work will push you out of your comfort zone, but this is a safe space. And I just want you to play with me and go there and not judge it. Because if I don't say that, they'll block and close, because that's, to become a better communicator, that's what you have to do. You have to kind of push yourself out and try things that with your body and voice that you wouldn't necessarily have tried otherwise.
Yeah, and just stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And actually just trying to understand yourself a little bit better. It's a very introspective journey, I would say.
Very. And that's the other great thing about acting class, is it's free psychological therapy. It is a free psychologist, because, you have to go inward and think about your traumas and your, and what makes you happy. And that's actually, it's a really good journey to have to take,
Definitely. Well, Elia, thank you so much. I want to be mindful of your time here. And this has been such a thoughtful and generous conversation. So thank you again for bringing your full presence into it. I really appreciate it. And for anyone listening who resonated with this, what's the best way to stay connected with your work?
Thank you so much. So you can go to my website, elianichols.com. And then I have LinkedIn, Elia Nichols. Just search for Elia Nichols. I'm everywhere on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and in my website. And please check out my TED Talk on how to look more confident, even when we're not feeling so confident, because that's a really good, quick way to just start on a good foot.
Definitely. Thank you again. Amazing. And we'll make sure to link all of those. And we're looking forward to staying in touch with you.